The bartender looks and says, "It's gonna be a long day for the US." Let me take you to the Japan-US game. I have to give some slight background on what's even going on. This is the IFAF. It's an international tournament where countries send their best to play against other countries' best. Well, that's what everybody else does except for the US. And this isn't necessarily seething cope. Okay, it's a little bit of seething cope, but don't just take my word for it. Listen to the announcers.
These aren't the best
top-end American
35
athletes.
under 20
Yes.
athletes in the
You're
United
100%
States.
correct.
I can 100% assure you of that.
I also have a player on the inside who told me that it's mostly D3 and NAIA guys, as well as some high school level players in there, but not America's premium talent by any stretch. But this tournament has already given us some bangers like Canada's 110 war crime against Brazil and the US stuffing Panama's canal with 86 fierce freedom points. Now, apparently, we put too much down on the deposit and don't have enough to make our first payment because in the very next game against Japan, it made me want to vomit. So buckle in, and if you're an American, grab a trash bag. So, as early as the first kickoff, I could tell something was wrong. The kick returner was filled with a ton of indecision on where to go, and I get that he's sort of the squid protection guy, meaning he's not guaranteed to get the ball, but there was still no discernible lane, and it looks like everybody was blocking guys towards the Japanese sideline, and when he ran that way, he obviously ran into a bunch of traffic because that's where they're getting blocked to. Then, literal play 1, 1st and 10, what's the call here? You're not going to be able to guess it. It's quarterback sneak. Yeah. That's a classic, and it's honestly a miracle we got 3 yards out of it, and if you wanted to send the message that we're here to party and out-physical you, I would have put the ball in my running back's hands instead to do so. And trust me, the game is just downhill from here. The next pass was almost a disaster because our wide receiver didn't even appear to know the ball was coming to him, and it should have been pick sixed, and then the quarterback scrambles the play after as a number one. Okay, so I'm gonna pause it right here. I wanted to say kamikazed into him, but then I realized that might be a little culturally insensitive. That's aside the point, because after a single drive, it became very clear who here was going to out-physical the other team. Luckily, Team USA has a solid punter in Rhett Armstrong, and pay attention to that last name because he's also got his legs strong as he gets off a pretty good boot here. Now, defensively on play 1, you're going to see the biggest killer for Team USA, which is arm tackling. I mean, holy shit, guys. From the jump, just did not want to put pads on pads, and I'll give it to Japan. They were playing fast, they were playing aggressive, they were not afraid of the title American football while being paired up against the American football team. But their offensive line was absolutely slaughtering our American defense. We weren't pressuring the quarterback in the slightest. We didn't get any tackles for losses. We were barely getting off blocks, but luckily their passing game was a little shoddy, so we survived the first drive just for a punt to not be fielded and pin us at the 1 yard line. Come on, you got to run forward and get that one down. But you're going to want to pop a couple aspirin for the play calls on the goal line. So first we will go with this little pair of a jet sweep to halfback dive option where we go with a halfback dive, okay? And our offensive line is blocking from behind the goal line, so it's nothing short of a miracle that we aren't getting a safety here. But, okay, whatever, rinse it out. What are we going to do next? Oh, we're going to run the exact same play, this time just reversed. And of course the results are worse only due to the fact that the ball gets knocked out and we give Japan a freebie. So they kick it back off, and the off returner either doesn't know which way the play is going, is supposed to block somebody that has a 0.0% chance of making a play on this return, or the returner ran the wrong direction. But this play looked terrible too, as special teams for the US is thrown on the list of weaknesses for the group. Then we have to bend back over to receive another ass kicking for 3 plays before luckily Rhett can get us out of a rut, and just you wait because he's actually going to do his best to keep us in this game despite it all. And before I even get a chance to wipe the vomit off my mouth from the last drive, Japan gives us the strongest testament I've seen for why you don't let white DBs on the field, as both of ours get cooked like a goose, allowing for another quick score, as our defensive line is getting less penetration than trying to use a butter knife on a bulletproof vest. The good news is that the next kickoff return is more recognizable, as the team is blocking towards the American sideline and the returner is running towards the backs of those blockers instead of towards the people they're blocking, which is a proper return pattern, and likewise picks up more yards than the previous one. But if you're getting a lot of reps at kickoff return, you're having a bad day, and America hadn't been forced to have this bad of a day by Japan in a little over 80 years or so. And I don't know why we keep going back to this jet sweep slash dive play, but this time we give it to the sweep and the results are the same as the dive. And this next play pisses me off so bad, okay? I get these guys are high schoolers, so I'm going to be as nice as I can, but you can see this defensive back is bailing out before the play starts. Now, let me ask you a question. Where do you think he's going? You think he's going to go get a water break? Do you think he found something better to do this game? Or do you think he's going to play a deeper zone and wait for the receiver to get to the top of his route before he undercuts it? Now, I'll let you, the audience, ponder this as we watch him pick this off and give a ball back to his offense, or we get absolutely gashed again with testament number 2 against white DBs to have us go down 21-0. And did I mention that we're still in the first quarter? The kickoff return is finally starting to pick up some steam, but we also somehow find a player more wide open than I've ever seen. But here's a testament to Japan. They are swarming it, okay? They close the gap so fast, we don't get a single yard after it. And now, despite our run game being less than existent and us probably having an advantage on the perimeter, what do you think we're going to do on this 3rd and 5? Except for the same goddamn play. We've run 6 times this game now, and I don't think we've gotten a single yard on it. What the hell are we doing on offense? Jesus Christ. And if your blood pressure isn't high enough, watch the gunner on this punt. Just watch him. What are we doing? My jaw was on the floor. I was about to take the American flag down from out of my room. But at this point, I was having a hard time even stomaching watching this game. So let me just tell you the overarching themes of the game from here on out, okay? The Japanese team 100% wanted it more. Every single step of the way, they played harder, faster, more technically sound. They tackled harder, they ran harder. The only thing the U.S. actually had an advantage on outside of some of these deeper passes was our kicking game and special teams when we decided to do anything inventive with it. And I mean, we hit this surprise onside, and I wouldn't have been surprised if we could have converted 1 or 2 more of these if we had just tried on this game. On top of that, Rhett Armstrong showed off that strong arm with a fake punt, which we should have ran a lot more fakes. Look at this field goal, this extra point, all right? 11 men down on the rush. We could have easily dumped the ball off to this tight end right here, and there was nothing they could have done for it, which would have been a sizable advantage because there's just no second level to prevent it. And like I said, on the offensive sides, we did not utilize our best weapons in the wide receivers whatsoever. We did not throw the ball deep enough. We were trying to throw all these harder than they look passes with wide receivers running towards the perimeters, and it looked like we had a huge one-on-one advantage if we could just create any sort of favorable matchups. And not to mention, if we start completing some of these deeper passes, we're going to get the run game going as the linebackers have to play a little bit further off the ball. And we did this a little bit in the second half, which is what got us a handful of points, but we just did not have a sound game plan to deal with literally anything Japan had going with their run game, and it just seemed like we couldn't tackle as they gashed us over and over again for huge chunk yards. A standout player definitely was Rhett. He had a couple 60-yard punts as he was just hammering that ball, but there's only so much a punter can do when the rest of your team's getting dog walked like this. So that puts 2 wins by Japanese football teams over American ones this year, with the other coming in the Dream Bowl. So I hope every American watching this, if you get selected to go play in this next year, put your damn big boy pants on and get ready to play some ball and go hit some people and play with some real American spirit. This was just embarrassing.
10-5, touchdown, Japan!